Hello guys, have you been thinking about coming to work on board a cruise ship, or you were considering going to work as a caregiver either in the US or in the UK? So today in this video I'm going to do a comparison on I'm just going to pick different categories that I'm just going to do a comparison on, so that you make an informed decision whether or not to come and work on board a cruise ship, or whether or not to go and work as a caregiver in the UK. So I know many school leavers and many people who are looking for something to do, especially outside the country, and do not have a lot of much qualifications. Most of the people consider to work on board a cruise ship or consider to do care work. So today in this video I'm going to do a comparison on the two processes, so that you make an informed decision, or so that you choose what works best for you. Remember the pros and the cons. Even if a job has a lot of advantages or a lot of disadvantages, it all depends, after all, to your personal preferences. Someone may choose a job with a lot of disadvantages because maybe it's something that they want to do for a short time. So let's go right straight into the video. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about, or rather the things that I'm going to be talking about, is the initial cost. So going to be comparing the initial cost of going to work on board a cruise ship, as well as the initial cost if you want to go and work in the UK as a caregiver, or any other country, but it's just a caregiver job. So going to do the initial cost. We're going to do the salary, more like a basic salary, and we're going to do also comparing the lifestyles. So it's basically about three categories. So that's the initial cost, how much can you get in both jobs, as well as a lifestyle. What kind of a lifestyle will you be living? So the first thing is the initial cost. So when you're considering going to work on board a cruise, I'll start with going to work on board a cruise ship, because it is the process that I really understand. So when you're coming to work, or when you decide to come and work on board a cruise ship, so the first thing, the initial costs, like when you calculate all the costs, and when you subtract all the monies that you're supposed to use, and all the monies that you finally get reimbursed when you get on board a cruise ship. So the money that you should have, or the money that you spend from your pocket that you don't get reimbursed, or that you don't get back, can be about $500 only. Can be, let's just safely put it at $550. That's just for your medicals. So the first thing is, when you apply and you get a job offer, you have to get a visa, and you have to get your medicals done. No, now most cruise lines provide plane tickets now for all new hires, so you don't really have to worry about your plane ticket fee, because the hiring company will pay for that. So the first thing is, you have to get your medicals done. Now medicals, it depends with the country that you are in. If you're in Zimbabwe and you decide to do your medicals in Zimbabwe, you have to pay something around I paid $490. So let's just simply put it at $500. Okay, I paid $490, so let's just put it at $490. So that's the amount that I paid for my medicals. But if you've got other underlying conditions that need to be sorted out before you can be given your medicals, well, you have to spend more. But under normal circumstances, it's just $490. But if you decide to go and do your medicals in another country, it can be cheaper. Like, I know of people who went to South Africa and they spent something like equivalent of $300, $290, $280 thereabouts. So you need that much for your medicals. And the other thing that you need to pay is for your visa. Now the visa, like the two visas that you get to come and work on board a cruise ship, costs about $360. Well, you have to initially pay that amount, but when you get on board a cruise ship, they will reimburse you for that. They will reimburse you like the first week that you come on board. The first week of your contract, you get your money back. So we can't really say it's something that you like that's a cost to you, because even if someone gave you the money, as soon as you get back on board a cruise ship, you can send them back the money. And then the other thing that you will need is a police clearance. That will cost you about $10 or $20, depending on where you're living, and also depending on how fast you want it. So that will cost you about $10 or $20. The other thing that you need when you want to come and work on board a cruise ship, you don't need a TB test. You don't need a TB test. You don't need to do your English test. So that's just basically it. Your plane ticket is catered for. Your hotel accommodation when you're in transit is catered for, as well as your food. So the cost of you coming to work on board a cruise ship, we can safely put it at $550 for the whole process. That's the money that you spend and do not get back. But all the other monies, like your visa, your plane ticket they give it to you, but your visa, they give you back the money. So those are the costs associated with if you decide to come to work on board a cruise ship. Remember, most of the jobs on board a cruise ship do not really require you to have a lot of qualifications. They just want you to have the experience that they require, unless you want like managerial positions, like technical posts, like entertainment technicians, or music engineers. Those things are quite technical, so they require you to have the qualifications. But if you're just looking at the basic jobs that other people do, like housekeeping, like bar attendants, those jobs just require you to have, like a butcher, those jobs just require you to have the necessary experience. And then let's go to the process of working. If you decide to go and work as a caregiver in the UK, mostly in the UK. So the first thing that you have to do, if you do not have a degree, is to get your IELTS, your English test. So the IELTS costs about $340. And you have to, after you pass your IELTS, you have to do your certificate for care work. Now the certificates in Zimbabwe, I think now it costs about $200. I'm not sure in other countries. You can get your certificate for about $200. You can get the full course for about $200. So now that brings us, it's about $540 already. You need to do your TB test. A TB test is $160. So that's about like 540 plus 160. That's about $700 so far. You will need to get the sponsorship. So now the sponsorship is supposed to be given for free, but you know what is happening, and you will have to sort of like pay for what they call the training fee for the interview and everything, and that costs about $2,500. That brings us at about $3,200. Now if you're someone who's business minded, if you're someone who's like entrepreneurship, who has got an entrepreneurial mindset, you're someone who can actually do something with that money. That's my analysis. Let's say that's $3,200. After you get your COS, after you get everything gets processed, you need to buy a ticket. Now a ticket to go to the UK, let's just put it at $1,000. We're now at $4,200. And you also need your visa, money for your visa. That's about $300. That brings us at $4,500. And this money, no one is going to reimburse you for this money. You just have to have this money, or maybe get someone to give you this money, which you will have to pay back when you start working. And you will see that it's not really that easy to pay back this money if you didn't have it on your own, because considering the salaries that these guys are getting, especially when you're just going there for the first time, you really don't know how to have a second job or something like that. The salary may not be sustainable for you to be able to pay this amount back in a short period of time. So when you get to the UK, you also have to have some money, because you need to pay for your accommodation, you will need to pay for your transport, you also have to be able to get a car, possibly get a car, because for you to be able to go on shift and all, you have to have a car for you to, for everything to go on smooth for you. So you also have to be someone who must have saved enough to buy a car. That's about £1,000. That's about $1,250. So it's we can put that amount to about $6,000. So for the whole process, for you to safely settle, you need to have about $6,000 for you to settle in the UK. Maybe for you to go like by the first month. So that's from my analysis and from the analysis of the people that I know who are there. So it's really up to you to see what you can afford. So remember, guys, this information is just for informative and entertainment purposes. What you do with it, it's up to you. So let's go to the salaries. Now, when you're working on board a cruise ship, you're salaried. You're not paid per hour. So it's like your money, you know your money. If you're someone who's earning, let's say $2,000, you get your $2,000, $1,000 after every 2 weeks. So you know your money is coming. Come what may, as long as you're working, your money is coming. Now there are some positions which are not, and they are salaried, yeah, but they rely also on tips. Departments like the team savers, the waiters, the bar savers, housekeeping, those guys get tips, and the tips can be like quite huge. So those guys may be paid something like 1,500, 1,200, but if you add the tips that they get, they can be above $2,000. So we just work with a salary of $2,000 and above. So let's just say someone is working, let's get to the salaries. Let's say someone is working on board a cruise ship and is able to get $2,000. Now remember, on board a cruise ship, the costs are very low. The cost of living are very low because the food is catered for. Now you do not pay for your food. You do not pay for your accommodation. You do not pay any bills. The bill that you can pay, or rather the expense that you can have on yourself, is internet. Maybe you can spend about $10 a week on internet. So we'll put that bill at about $40. Or maybe if you want to shop, if you want to what. But the fixed expenses per month, they're practically close to zero, because you don't need to pay for food, you don't need to pay for accommodation, you don't need to worry about those things. You only have to worry about sending money back home if you really have to. And that doesn't have to be every paycheck, guys. You really have to discipline yourself. Now, if you're working in the UK and getting something equivalent to about $2,000 US, remember this will be in pounds. So let's just say someone is able to get something close to $2,000 US. That person has got rent, and the rent there is quite expensive, because some of the guys that I know, they pay about 600 pounds for an apartment. Some pay about 450 pounds for an apartment, for a room. Actually, if you really want an apartment, maybe 1-bedroom apartment, it's about 650, 700 pounds. So that's besides the food. You need to buy food, that's another £100. You need money for fuel, you need money for vehicle insurance, you need money for practically almost everything that you have to spend on yourself. So as you can see, the living expenses in the UK are quite on the high comparing to the cost of living when you're working on board a cruise ship. But there are also other advantages of when you go to work in the UK, because when you go to work in the UK, you can bring your family along. You can do a second job. Like, you can do a second job in line with your job depending on the conditions of your visa. Now, if you're doing care work, you really also have to pick up other shifts for care work. You can't really do any other job because of the conditions of the visa. You can bring your family along, which is an advantage. You can have time to rest, which is a really, really big advantage, especially on your mental health. Sometimes your mind, you just need to rest. You just need to sleep and just rest without worrying about going on a shift. Sometimes your body just needs that you time. So that's one of the advantages that you have when you're working on when you decide to go and work in the UK as a caregiver. Now, when you're working on board, guys, you have to work every day of the duration of your contract. There are no off days. So you're working every day, And sometimes it can be really stressful, sometimes it can be really long, sometimes it can be really exciting. Like on a day like this, it's not really busy, but on some days, believe me guys, you can work up to 13 hours a day. I work about 9 or 10 hours, sometimes 11, sometimes 12. Like yesterday I worked about 12 hours. So it all depends with the day of the week. Remember, here it's either it's embarkation, a port day, a sea day. So those are the days of the week. So it depends with all those 3 days of the week. So that's just about it when it comes to, maybe I can call them the disadvantages of working on board a cruise ship. But the major advantage that I've seen, it's good if you really want to save. If you really have a goal and you want to save, this can also be a starting point. Let's say, for example, you decide to work in the UK, but you don't really have the money to go there because you want to go with your children, maybe because of free education. You don't really have to pay for the education when you get there with your kids. You can start maybe by doing 2 or 3 contracts, working on board a cruise ship, saving your money. Maybe 1 contract can be enough, depending on how much you're spending on your family and depending on how much you decide to save from what you'll be earning. So you can really save if you decide to work on board a cruise ship. But then if you decide to work in the UK, remember those costs that we talked about that came to about 4,500. You need to have a strategy of how you're going to pay that money back. If you borrowed it or if you sold some property, you really have to make a strategy on how you're going to get back your property in a short period of time. So we talked about picking up other shifts that can, or if you've got other skills that you can do, maybe you can plait hair, maybe you can bake cakes, use those skills for you to generate another source of income. Even here on board a cruise ship, other people, they can do people's hair. I can do my own hair, but doing other people's hair, for me, I just like my time to rest. So it all depends on the skills that you can put to use for you to generate an extra income. Now, when you're working in the UK, someone who's working on board a cruise ship can save maybe up to 1,200 if they're earning something like 2,000 US dollars. But comparing with someone who's working in the UK and earning an equivalent of 2,000 US dollars, believe me guys, that person will not be able to save something like $700 because of the cost of living. You also have to leave, you also have to send money back home. If you're working in the UK as a caregiver, kindly share your comments in the comment section. I'd like to know how much you guys are able to save, or if I'm wrong, I'd like to know how much you guys are able to save. How much are you guys able to send home? And how things, is it like what you expected? Is it going on well, guys? Just let us know. And if you're working on board a cruise ship, just share your experiences with us in the comment section, so that we really make someone out there who's considering doing either of the two can really make an informed decision. Now guys, there's nothing that I can say is better than the other. It all goes on with your personal preferences. What do you want to achieve for yourself? Do you have a family? Are you single? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have young kids? Do you have grown-up kids? So there are a lot of things to consider before you choose where exactly to go. So there are a lot of things, and also the position that you get, because I put a basis on a $2,000 salary. For someone, they may start maybe earning, they may get a job that might give them maybe $1,000. That can be their salary. So it all depends with your advantages and disadvantages. But I just want to encourage you guys, before you start the process, take a pen and a paper, go on the internet, find as much information as you can. Consider the advantages of both, consider the disadvantages of both, and also consider your personal preferences. What are those things that work for you? Don't just go because everyone is going to work on the ship. Don't just go because everyone is considering working in the UK as a caregiver. So I just want you guys to make an informed decision. And guys, remember to share this video, remember to like, remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel. Thank you so much for watching through to the end. And let me just see if there is something that that I left out. So working on board a cruise ship, I would advise it for someone who doesn't really have a lot of money to spend, someone who doesn't really have a lot of qualifications, because it can be a starting point. So it's not really about it should just be about where you are, the point you are in your life. So working on board a cruise ship can be a starting point. If you've got a goal, if you've got a target that you want to achieve, you can start by working on board a cruise ship. Believe me, in one contract, you can do a lot. You can do a lot if you're someone who's really, really focused. Because the life here can be so fast. Before you know it, you're going home and you're going back home. And before you know it, you're looking in your balance. You're looking at your balance and it might not be what you expect. So you just have to start saving from day one. It's not like I'll start saving next month. No, just the moment that you get here, the first paycheck, take your pen, take your paper. Just make sure that you save enough. So guys, till we do another video, make sure you share this video. Make sure you give me those likes. Make sure you keep those likes coming. Make sure you share and remember to subscribe.